You know, that little green guy at the beginning of the stream that you saw there, that was me tonight. That green guy was the perfect representation for me watching this show tonight. Trying to avoid the little hole that says 3 hours of Raw. It was one of those weeks. I hope you're a fan of the Judgment Day, because if you are not a fan of the Judgment Day, then this was not the show for you. The Judgment Day were all over the show tonight. What the Bloodline is to SmackDown, the Judgment Day is to Raw. And I like the Judgment Day, but I don't need 3 hours of the Judgment Day. We're going to get more than 3 hours of the Judgment Day because the Judgment Day are going to be taking over NXT tomorrow night. So if you like the Judgment Day, you're in for a treat because you're going to get more of them on NXT in less than 24 hours. Tonight was about the issues between Finn Balor and Damian Priest and them trying to work out their issues. Balor not very happy about Priest getting involved in Money in the Bank and costing him the championship. And then, of course, what happened at the end of the show last week, Damian Priest was going to cash in on Seth Rollins until Finn Balor ran out and ruined his plans. So the boys have been bitching, and Rhea has been trying to play peacemaker. And by the time this show was over tonight, the Judgment Day seemed to all be back on the same page. So all is right with the world again if you are a fan of the Judgment Day. Cody Rhodes had a message to deliver to Brock Lesnar, who cannot be bothered to travel to Buffalo. I can't say that I blame him. It's not exactly a marquee city. But he formally challenged Brock Lesnar to a match at SummerSlam, which we already knew he wanted to wrestle Brock Lesnar again. So this was just a fancy way of trying to kill time until Brock is ready to come back and show his face again, which will be next week. We won't have to wait very long. Logan Paul and Ricochet, they had a face-off tonight. No match made official, although Ricochet did lay down the challenge, but Logan Paul did not take the bait. But they had a face-to-face, and it looks as if WWE might be splitting one of the many factions they have, because right now it's like faction mania in this company. So many trios and just other, groups that they have on Mondays and Fridays, and they might be splitting up Imperium based on something they did tonight on the television show. I sure hope not, but it looks like that may be what they're preparing to do. I am Solomonster, and this is your Monday Night Raw review for July 10th, 2023, for what was a very middle-of-the-road edition of Monday Night Raw tonight. This was one of those nights where if the show was 2 hours, it wouldn't have been, I don't just want to say it was bad. It would have been a good show if you would have just been trimming some of the fat. 2 hours, but it wasn't, and so we ended up with what we ended up. It was Raw. What can I say? Like and subscribe. 400 likes is the goal tonight, for those of you who are still awake. Raw, those weeks were Raw, man. Even when Raw isn't necessarily bad, it's just not very interesting. It is just the cure for insomnia, and I feel like some of you, there might be some people who were going to tune into the stream, and they're kind of slobbering all over their keyboard right now. I hope they don't get electrocuted and short-circuit their laptop. But for those of you who are still alive and awake, do hit that like button. 400 is the goal tonight. If we hit that, we will be the booker a little bit later on. Super chats are open. There's a brand new one in there, too. There's a new $15 one. A Wrecking Ball one. That's on the list. And also, I want to just mention here, for those who may have missed it, one of these segments from Sound Off 816 yesterday, which is over 2 hours long and well worth your time if you haven't downloaded it and listened to it yet. But I do get into the whole Jon Moxley commentary. He had his dissertation on the use of blood in wrestling, his defense of so much blood in AEW, and I want to hear from you. There's been some very interesting debate back and forth in the comment section. So the clip is up here on the YouTube channel as well. You can listen to the full show, or you can get the clip on YouTube. Chime in, leave a comment, and let me know what you think. Memberships are open as well if you want to become a channel member. Foxstar Killer earlier today became a Sound of Legend, so if you are with us here, Foxstar, thank you very much. Welcome to the club. Raw tonight opened And again, I will be getting to your super chats here in a little bit as we go along. Raw opened tonight with Finn Balor marching to the ring by himself. He was still very upset about Money in the Bank and held Damian Priest responsible for costing him the championship against Seth Rollins in their match. Rhea Ripley and Dominic didn't waste any time coming out to try to talk some sense into him. Rhea said that, look, we've got some unfinished family business to discuss, but not out here in front of them. Let's take care of this in the back. Balor said his issues are with Damian, his issues are not with her. Rhea put her hand over the microphone as he was speaking to basically cut him off and shut him up. And she told Finn to calm down. We could talk about this in the back. So Balor left the ring and he walked right past Dominic to the back. Dominic got into the ring to join Rhea, who said that the Judgment Day still run Raw, which I don't see how you can watch this show tonight and not know that the Judgment Day run Raw. That much is pretty apparent. She would love for somebody to come out here and question that. She said tonight her Latino Heat finishes his business against Seth Rollins. And this was another thing. Let me stop here for a second. One of the things that we started to see less of when Triple H first took over as the chief content officer last year, and Vince McMahon went on vacation and started getting grooming tips from some gumshoe from the 1940s. When Triple H took over as the chief content officer, those first few months especially of Monday Night Raw, maybe even the first 6 months, one of the things that I liked and I appreciated about what he did, it felt like we were getting less rematches on the show. We were getting some fresh matches. He was doing a better job of mixing and matching people on the roster, and it wasn't a case where we would have 2-3 weeks in a row of the same matches. And that has gone away. There have been a lot more rematches on this show in the past few months. And tonight was another example of this because we had, well, what was advertised, I should say, was Seth Rollins against Dominic Mysterio, which ended up not happening. Well, it did happen, but in the form of a 6-man tag. But originally they were advertising a rematch between the two of them. We got Tommaso, Ciampa, and The Miz, right? We've seen that before. Next week, we're getting a version, I don't even know what number we're up to at this point, of the Viking Raiders and the Alpha Academy. And it's just, unfortunately, it's like we've actually gone backwards here. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder what could have caused this. Now, I understand that sometimes people are in a program together. You're going to have more than one match. Just feels to me, though, lately like we've been getting more of them. And I don't want to see more rematches. You know, I'm sure that there's a healthy number of rematches you can do, but it just feels like we've kind of reverted back to where we were a year ago, and that's no good. So Seth Rollins' music hit, and he came out with a plate of buffalo wings, and he was chowing down. He even had the little piece of celery there on his plate. I should mention that, again, they were in Buffalo tonight, so of course he came out with a plate of buffalo wings, and he got a big pop for it. Dominic yelled for the music to be cut, and became my hero at that point because he cut the music off before all the idiots could start singing Seth's theme song. And yes, I said idiots because I'm already sick of this. So he cut them off. Call me a heel, I guess. So he cut them off. Seth said that nobody came here to hear Dominic run his mouth. They all came here to eat buffalo wings and watch the Judgment Day explode. Or implode. Implode. All right, well, explode, implode. More or less the same thing. So he almost started coughing here. I don't know if this was because if he did this on purpose or not, but it sounded like I don't know if, you know, maybe he look, maybe Seth just didn't learn when he was a kid that you don't talk when you're eating and you have a mouthful of food. Maybe that's what it was. But it sounded like he was about to start coughing. Maybe the wings were too hot. Maybe the wings were too hot. It could be that. It could be that. See, I'm not. Look, I love wings. Wings are great. I don't like things that are spicy. I'm a mild guy. If I go to Popeyes and I get chicken, I'm not getting the spicy chicken. I'm getting the mild. So every now and then they kind of surprise me. I'll be like, oh, 3 mild legs. And they'll be like, oh, sure. And they'll throw a spicy one in there. And that's it. My night is ruined. It ruins my palate. I can't. I can't tolerate the spice. I can't tolerate the heat. I'd have tears streaming down my face. It's terrible. Maybe that's what happened to poor Seth Rollins tonight. So Dominic said that he's going to shut Seth up when he beats him. Seth started laughing. He said he had bad news for Rhea Ripley. Tonight, he's going to be the only one whipping Dom Dom's ass. That is not a visual that I needed. Thank you very much. So, establishing the Judgment Day drama early here in this show. This would be the main story thread throughout the entire night. After a break, Damian Priest was in the back. He was meeting with Rhea and Dominic. Said, well, that went pretty much the way that I expected it to. And Rhea said, look, you and Balor, you two got to grow up. You got to squash the beef. You got to put this behind you. And Priest said that, look, I already spoke to Finn. He's the one who chose to go out there and air out our dirty laundry and say what he said. But for you, I will speak to him again. Then he said something in Spanish and he walked off. Now, our first match of the night was Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle taking on Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci of Imperium, who had Gunther in their corner. I take back what I said last week. Drew still has the sword. I thought maybe he had dumped the sword for the... No, he still has it. He still has the giant sword when he comes out to the ring. As far as that Solomonster non-spice, look, a little bit of spice is okay. A little bit of spice. I like a little bit of spice. I like the Spice Girls. But I don't do, spicy hot. Like if somebody said to me, hey, Solomonster, you should do the Packy one-chip challenge, you may as well just bury me. You may as well just put me in the ground now. Like, there's no way. Like the Ghost Pepper challenge or any of that stuff. What was that Indiana Jones movie where the guy's face, his skin just melted? You saw the skeleton? That would be me. My face and my skin would melt off my body. It would be terrible. I don't do well with that kind of stuff. I don't know how people do that. I had an uncle who would go around no matter where he went. He would always keep a little bottle of, what was it, Tabasco? Maybe it was Tabasco sauce or hot sauce, some kind of hot sauce. Like a little miniature bottle in his pocket. So wherever he went, if he was at a restaurant, if he went on vacation, no matter what the meal was, he would take that bottle out and sprinkle some of it on. I can never understand it. Why would you ruin a good meal by doing that? I just don't know. I just don't understand. I've been to parties, Super Bowl parties before where people have wings, and I'm like, wings, and then some motherfucker he'll put something on there. He'll just put them on all the wings, and then, I'm eating fucking popcorn in the corner. Fucking guy. So McIntyre got in the ring. This was his first match since WrestleMania. Got in the ring. Kaiser had bailed very quickly. He didn't want to have any part of Drew McIntyre. Imperium got the advantage over Riddle later on ahead of the commercial break. Eventually, Riddle countered out of an Imperial bomb attempt. McIntyre made the hot tag. He was handing out overhead suplexes and neck breakers like me spamming the DDT in 2K23. This guy was going nuts. So McIntyre, he looks outside the ring, and he sees Gunther outside. He's eyeballing him. Eyeballing Gunther. Gives Vinci a power bomb. Now he's setting up for a Claymore kick. Kaiser, though, breaks it up. And McIntyre brings him over the ropes into the ring, tosses him halfway across the ring. The referee was distracted checking on Kaiser, so Gunther pulled McIntyre out to the floor. But Riddle caught Gunther with a flying knee strike off the ring steps, took him down. Back inside, McIntyre gave Vinci a Claymore kick. Riddle got a pretty cool-looking ankle pick on Kaiser, put him in an ankle lock, so he couldn't save his partner. Drew pins Vinci to win the match. After the match was over, Gunther is very upset about this loss. And he looks at Giovanni Vinci. They're all standing together outside the ring. And he just starts chewing this guy out. And he storms off. And Ludwig Kaiser walks up to his partner and just kind of gives him the stink eye. And then he walks to the back and they leave Kaiser all by himself, or they leave Vinci rather, all by himself. So they are teasing an Imperium breakup, and I don't like this because I like Imperium. What I wish is that they wouldn't treat Kaiser and Vinci like a couple of enhancement talents, which is basically what they are. And Kaiser in particular is very good when he does the introduction for Gunther. They make a good pairing, but they're a great tag team, and I knew that back from their NXT days, right? Former NXT tag team champions. These two should be challenging for and eventually winning and holding the tag team titles, and now it looks like they might split them up before they even have a chance to do so. That sucks. Hopefully it is only a tease. But I don't think they would be teasing it like this unless they were preparing for some sort of breakup here. And that doesn't mean that they're going to replace him necessarily, because I know people are already saying, oh, what about J.D. McDonough, and what about they call up Ilya Dragunov, which would make absolutely no sense whatsoever, considering the history between Walter and Dragunov. I mean, you could do it, but it wouldn't make any sense. But it's not even a matter of, are they going to replace Vinci? They could very well just get rid of Vinci and just go back to the way things were. When Gunther was first called up, it was just him and Kaiser. Remember, he used to be all abusive to Kaiser, and he was, giving him chops, and he was just bullying this guy. Until Vinci finally came back after Vince went away, is when Triple H reunited Imperium. We didn't have Imperium when Gunther was first called up to the main roster. We had Gunther and Kaiser. That was it. It was Triple H who brought Giovanni Vinci, who got a complete makeover in NXT. He was like the pretty boy. He would come out and he would smile, and they would take like a still shot photo of him for his entrance. It was Triple H who called him up to the main roster and brought back Imperium as a trio, which I loved. I said, great move. Great move by Triple H. Well, here we are a year later. Vinci hasn't done much. Kaiser hasn't done much. Gunther has been Intercontinental Champion for over a year. He's doing great. And the other two are basically just background bit players. And I wish that would change, and now we might not even have a chance to see that because it looks like they may be going their separate ways. Vinci is a super talented guy. For those of you who don't know him from the NXT days, first time I saw him was in the Cruiserweight Classic, I guess 6 or 7 years ago now. And he didn't physically look like a cruiserweight to me. He looked like a little bit above a cruiserweight, but he was flying around the ring like one and doing stuff that I wasn't expecting. I was very impressed. The first time I started, seeing him working. And then the Imperium stuff and everything. So if they wanted to split these guys and have Vinci break away from them, I would hope they have plans for him as a single. I don't know that he would be going very far in that role, but I mean, he's not going very far in the role he's in now either, so it might be a lateral move. I just hope they don't split them and then have nothing in mind for him, or, he ends up just being someone on the roster that they can use to put other people over, because he's too talented to be wasted by doing nothing. Right? He may never be a world champion. He may not even be the Intercontinental Champion, but he's too talented to not be utilized in a meaningful way. But it just doesn't feel like a good time for factions in this company right now. All right, you got the Bloodline is falling apart. The Judgment Day is falling apart 1 week. The next week, they're back on the same page. 2 weeks from now, they'll be falling apart again. Now it looks like Imperium might be split up. It's not a good time to be a faction in this, unless you're the LWO. Not a good time to be a faction in WWE right now. In the back, Balor complained to Priest. They were arguing in the hallway, and Riddle cut him off, and Priest said, look, I did not intend to cash in on you or cost you the match at Money in the Bank. He goes, I wanted you to win. I wanted you to become the champion. I would never cash in on you. He goes, the way I see it, we could either go back to running this place the way we did before, or, and that's when Balor cut him off and said, we don't need to talk about the or. We could start fresh, clean slate, back on the same page here. But one caveat, he says, I want Seth Rollins first. And Priest said, I got no problem with that. He goes, I want you to beat Seth. I want you to be the champion. And then he raised his Money in the Bank briefcase. If they would have just left well enough alone at that point and walked off, all would have been right. But he had to pick up the briefcase and show it. And then he made the comment, he said, either way, it's covered. Then he walked off, Rhea walked off, Dominic walked off, and Balor was still there by himself, and he was kind of pondering what he just heard. He didn't quite understand what Damian Priest had just said. He looked confused. He was wondering what he meant by that. They recapped the Bloodline Tribal Court segment from SmackDown on Friday night, which peaked with over 3 million viewers on Fox. And they did a crazy demo number, too. It was like a .74 or something like that. I think they were number one on all of television. All of network television by a lot in that key demo that's so important. But it was the best SmackDown number in 3 years since the beginning of 2020. So, hey, look, the bloodline is rolling right now. It's no wonder WWE has kept the story going as long as they have, and they love doing these bloodline segments on TV. And that was the longest one yet. That was 35 straight minutes of bloodline on Friday night on a 2-hour show, not even a 3-hour show. Now you see why, because it's putting up numbers like that. Interestingly, on the WWE YouTube channel, the Tribal Court segment from the other night tops somewhere between 1.5 million and 2 million views. Right behind it, well over 1 million views, the Dark segment with LA Knight that did not air on television. Even more so than the ending of SmackDown with Jey Uso coming back. It was the LA Knight segment. That was easily number 2 for SmackDown on Friday night. A show that he wasn't even on. But I suppose that doesn't matter because he's just a ripoff of The Rock. I guess it don't matter. Tag team champions were in the back, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They were being interviewed by Jackie Redmond. She asked, what's next for the tag team champions? And Sami Zayn said that we're going to take on whoever steps up to the plate. Whoever they throw in front of us, doesn't matter who it is. He mentioned the Street Profits. He mentioned the LWO. He mentioned the Alpha Academy, Viking Raiders. They could all be potential opponents. Rhea Ripley and Dominic showed up. I told you, more bloodline. Or more Judgment Day. So Ripley said you guys left out the Judgment Day. And Kevin Owens, he admitted, you know what, she's got a point. We did forget to mention the Judgment Day. Rhea said that they wanted to take all the titles, not just the World Heavyweight title. They want the tag team titles as well. She knew enough to not mention Gunther in the Intercontinental title because she knows that's not going to end well for them. Although, I do have to say this. There was a match that we were supposed to get on a takeover show in Dublin, and then the pandemic hit. And we never did get a makeup match between Finn Balor and Walter. We never got that match. So at some point, it might not make sense right now because Balor's a heel and Gunther's a heel, but at some point, I want that match. I want that match made up. I don't care if it's 4 years later, which it's going to be 4 years later. Next year, it'll be 4 years. 4 fucking years. Holy shit, where does time go? But at some point, I want Balor and I want Gunther in a match. Whether it's for the Intercontinental. Actually, by that point, he probably won't even be the Intercontinental Champion anymore. But Rhea did not mention the IC title here. But she said they want all the gold, including the tag team belts. She said that Dominic is going to smash Seth Rollins tonight. He's worked on his cardio when he was in prison. So he never gets tired. After they left, Sami asked, what'd she mean by that? Owens assumed that it meant that Dominic ran around the yard in prison. Sami thought it meant something else. So he whispered what he thought it was into Owens' ear. Owens' eyes perked up. Not even an hour into this 3-hour show. This was like, I think I marked it down. It was like 8:57, I think. Not even a full hour into this show. And the Judgment Day was all over this program. With more to come. In fact, the very next segment, Seth Rollins was supposed to go one-on-one in that rematch with Dominic Mysterio. It never got started, though. Rollins made his way to the ring. He got jumped by Dirty Dom outside before he could even get into the ring. Rhea was there to provide the distraction. Rhea would distract anybody. It's totally understandable. Seth made a comeback. He chased Dominic into the crowd until Balor and Priest showed up. It was a trap. It was an ambush. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn ran down to make the save. And then after the commercial break, we got the very predictable announcement that our main event tonight, it had been transformed, and it was going to be a 6-man tag. It was going to be Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn against Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. What a shock. What a shock. I can't believe that they turned it into a 6-man tag. We had Ricochet out to the ring for his face-to-face with Logan Paul. I don't know how many of you were following the news today. Logan Paul, his Prime Energy drink. Remember, he had his old buddy. Who was the guy? The boxer / rapper. What the fuck is his name? His partner, his business partner. He dressed up as the Prime bottle at WrestleMania. Anyway, his Prime Energy drink may be under investigation soon by the FDA. Apparently, and I have not tried this Prime drink. I see it all the time when I'm in the supermarket. They have it when you go to the checkout aisle. They have those little mini refrigerator units, and it's stacked. Just stacked every level with bottles of Prime. But apparently, it's got very high caffeine content in every can. They said it's the equivalent. One can is the equivalent of 6 cans of Coca-Cola or 2 Red Bulls as far as the caffeine content. So if at any point you need to stay awake, maybe pull an all-nighter for some reason, you got a lot of work to do, maybe you're in college, you got to study for that big term paper at the end of the semester. Not that I advise you do this. Take it from me. I've done this. It's not fun. But all you need is 1 bottle of Prime, apparently. You'll be up for 3 days straight. So, Logan Paul might be investigated soon. He should be investigated for his cryptocurrency scam. Well, he's racking up a whole bunch of things here. Yes, it was KSI, by the way. Thank you. I couldn't remember what his name was. It was KSI. Yeah, it's funny. Somebody told me once, they go, you should get in touch with Monster Energy Drink. Maybe they'll do like a sponsorship of the show. And I couldn't figure out who the right person would be to reach out to. I think I sent like a generic email. I never heard back. But many years ago, going back, I don't know, 10 years, somebody I worked with bought a Monster Energy drink, the tall can. They brought it into the office, and they weren't going to use it. So they said, "Hey, you want to try this?" And I don't do energy drinks. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't drink coffee. I don't do energy drinks, 5-hour energy, all that crap. I don't do any of that. So I said, yeah, whatever. I'll give it a shot. It wasn't even, I don't even think it was a quarter of the can. Maybe it was a quarter. Maybe it was a quarter of the can. And my hand was like this. My hand was shaking. Like I'm staring at my hand and I can't stop it from shaking. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to avoid these drinks in the future. I don't think they have a very good effect on me. I can't imagine drinking an entire can of that shit. I just don't know how people do that. I don't know how people do that and don't bounce off the walls. I guess if you need like a quick jolt, you have a little bit of it, wakes you up, I can understand that. But just drinking full cans of that shit on a regular basis just doesn't seem healthy to me. So Ricochet comes to the ring, and he said he wants to share something with us from the heart. Every time he stepped into the ring, every risk he took was for the fans, so that they can go home and they can say that Ricochet was the highlight of their night. But tonight was not about that. Tonight was about Logan Paul. And the crowd here in Buffalo booed. Ricochet did not appreciate Logan going on his podcast and calling him unprofessional when Paul himself admitted that he didn't know what he was doing in that match. This is where things like this are very weird to me, because he's referring back to his Impulsive podcast. Logan Paul went on his podcast after Money in the Bank, and when he talks about WWE on the show, for the most part, it's out of character, right? It's not kayfabed or anything like that. On that podcast, he talked about the Money in the Bank match, and he talked about planning the big spot with Ricochet, and it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, right? So it's like, he's and that's fine if he wants to do his podcast that way. But it's just weird to me to hear Ricochet here in this promo as part of the show, referring back to that when he's talking about the Money in the Bank match and the spot that they did completely out of character. Like they're cooperating and trying to work together. But I guess we're supposed to just ignore all the other stuff that Logan Paul talked about on that podcast and just focus in on one thing that he said. So I don't know. To me, I know it's 2023. This is the way wrestling is now, but I don't know. It's just a little weird to me. So Ricochet said that he doesn't do things on social media. He does things face-to-face. And so he invited Logan Paul to come down to the ring to face him. Logan came out. He didn't get into the ring. He spoke to Ricochet from the aisleway. He was amused by Ricochet acting tough because he looked like a little boy. Paul wanted to make this quick because he didn't want to be in this crap city any longer than he had to be. He said that Ricochet was spectacular, and every time they were in the ring together, it was fireworks. But he stood by what he said on the podcast because everybody in the Money in the Bank ladder match cared more about him losing than they themselves winning. And Ricochet cost them both in that match. Ricochet said that none of the fans wanted Logan anywhere near that briefcase, and at that point, the people in Buffalo began to chant, "Logan sucks." Paul laughed because Ricochet just proved his point. He said, in the middle of your promo, they're not chanting for you, they're chanting about me. And honestly, he's right. He's 100% right. As Ricochet was cutting his promo, they weren't going, Ricochet, Ricochet. They were chanting for Logan Paul. So it wasn't a case where they love Ricochet so much. They hate Logan Paul more than they love Ricochet. It's the Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler thing that I talked about last week. Right? Where it's not a case of Shayna Baszler all of a sudden is a big baby face. No, she's not. I told you that last week. And when I talk about her match in a little bit, I'm going to tell it to you again because it was on full display here in this show. When she came out, she didn't get a reaction like she got last week because it's not about the fans all of a sudden they love Shayna Baszler. They hate Ronda Rousey. And it's the same thing here in this situation with Logan Paul. So Ricochet warned him to never run his mouth about him again. Logan said that he wasn't going to be intimidated by a guy wearing a shirt that was too small for him and who was 90% forehead. I thought that was kind of funny. He knew Ricochet wanted to fight him so that he could go viral, but Paul said he knocked people out while Ricochet was all about video clips. He didn't think things were going to work out between them. Sorry, but I don't think it's going to work out here with you and me. And then at that point, Ricochet did a running flip over the top rope to the floor, landed on his feet. The same spot that he did years ago in NXT with the Velveteen Dream, and he landed just mere feet from Logan Paul. Logan was impressed. He said, that was cool for TikTok. He goes, I'm not a TikToker. He goes, I'm not about moments. He said, I am the moment. That's like Charlotte Flair, right? It's, I am the opportunity. Logan says, I am the moment. And again, he declined Ricochet's challenge. He turned to go walk away, but then he turned back around. He took a swing at Ricochet and he missed. He took another swing at Ricochet and he missed. And Ricochet grabbed him. He ran the apron. He ran up the apron and he hit a sliced bread on the floor. No one is going to mistake Ricochet for a master orator in his promos. It is not his forte. It is not his strong suit, nor was it here in this segment. But where he shines is not on the microphone. Where he shines is in the ring. And it's doing spots like the one that he did here in this segment. It's got to be hell on his knees. Look, all those years of Randy Savage. Remember Randy Savage in almost every match of his? He would do that running spot where he would grab his opponent by the hair. He would charge towards the ropes. He would jump over the top rope, land on the floor feet first, and drape the person throat first over the top rope. He would do sled double axe handles, sledges from the top to the floor. It's no wonder his knees were just totally shot by the end of his run in WCW. Not to mention that idiotic dive off the top of that rickety cage in WCW. I mean, he was like 30 feet in the air. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I don't know. And that cage didn't even look stable. It looked like it was just made of bamboo. Yeah, Randy Savage did a lot of very stupid things. But so it was cool to see that spot in front of a larger audience. Unfortunately, for Ricochet here, it got more of a reaction in front of 400 people at Full Sail University than it did here in Buffalo in front of 10,000. People didn't react to this spot the way that one would hope they would. But it's going to be a crazy video game match between these two, because this is obviously going to be the match at SummerSlam. I don't know if it'll have some kind of stipulation to it or not. I don't think it needs one. But that'll be fun. Becky Lynch, one-on-one with Zoe Stark. Trish Stratus was in Zoe's corner, still wearing her protective face mask. Trish tripped Becky while she was running the ropes, and the referee missed it. Zoe nailed a pretty impressive springboard dropkick that sent Becky rolling out to the floor. That took us into the commercial break. Zoe tried a cradle while holding the ropes, but the referee caught her. Becky then tried to return the favor by doing the same thing, but Stratus ratted her out. She alerted the referee. Becky then argued with Trish as her back was turned on Zoe, so Zoe tried her Z360 finish. Becky, though, countered out of it. Becky drop-kicked Trish off the apron. Not the face. She got her in the face. Down goes Trish. But with her back turned off the distraction, Zoe rolled up Becky, and she got the distraction roll-up victory. I would say big win for Zoe Stark here in this match, right? She pinned Becky Lynch. What a huge win it is for her. But a distraction roll-up is hardly a big win. Zoe looked impressive, though. Zoe looked more impressive than Becky did in the actual match. But not exactly a finish that puts her over in a strong way. But again, the feud is not Zoe and Becky. It's not about Zoe. Zoe is there just to get some rub from Trish. Or at least that's the hope. Is that by working with a Hall of Famer, it gets her on television every week. It gets her involved with someone like Becky. This is about Becky and Trish. This is not about Becky and Zoe. But at this point in the show, I just wrote 1 match per hour seems to be the pace of this show. We got more than that in the third hour, but up to this point, it was basically 1 match per hour, and the rest was just talking and just bullshit. Case in point, we had Alpha Academy throwing a graduation ceremony in the ring for Maxxine, Dupri, cap and gown and all. They played Pomp and Circumstance. I just mentioned Randy Savage. They played Pomp and Circumstance here, which will always be the anthem of the Macho Man. We had Gable introducing Maxxine as his model student. Maxxine walked out wearing a pink cap and gown. Gable presented her with a diploma and told her that the floor is yours. So Maxxine thanked Gable. She said that she thought that when they first met, she thought of him as an ugly troll, but he's become a great teacher and a friend. The crowd chanted, "You deserve it," as if that chant actually meant something. Now you know it doesn't. She credited Gable with teaching her so that she was able to win her very first match on Monday Night Raw. Maxxine thanked Otis and said that none of this would have been possible had this big sexy bod, or his big sexy bod, not caught her eye. Well, to each their own. They come in all shapes and sizes, to each their own, right? Something about Otis, I guess, right? We had Otis and Mandy. Now Otis and Maxxine. She also thanked the fans for accepting her and helping her become a star. Gable said that we have a tradition here. He pulled out a custom Alpha Academy varsity jacket for her. Said that this is the last jacket you're ever going to wear. Reminds me of poor Matthew Bevilacqua. The last soda he's ever going to drink. So the Viking Raiders interrupted before Dupri could put the jacket on. Valhalla entered the ring from behind. She didn't see her coming. And Valhalla attacked her. The jacket went flying. Valhalla then stole her jacket. Oh my God. After I just got done talking about the angle with Bret Hart and the Pirate from 27 years ago, or whatever, 28 years ago, when the Pirate stole Bret's jacket, they built an entire feud around. I just got done talking about this the other night. They go and they decide to have a storyline where someone's jacket is stolen. Great. You know, at least the payoff in that other feud, we got a great match between the two on pay-per-view. I don't know what the hell the payoff is supposed to be here. Where's the payoff for me? I'm sure she'll get her jacket back at some point, but what do I get out of it? At least I got a great match out of that other one. What am I going to get out of this? Well, what we're getting next week is a Viking rules match. We're getting yet another match between the Alpha Academy and the Viking Raiders. This time it'll be Viking rules. I think they only did one of these before, right? I think it was Viking rules between the New Day and the Viking Raiders on SmackDown a long time ago. So maybe this is the second Viking rules match they've ever done. We had Shayna Baszler one-on-one against Emma. No entrance for Emma. She hit the Emma sandwich early in the corner. Once Shayna took control, though, that was the end of it. That was it. She stomped Emma's arm. She asked the crowd who wanted a souvenir, or she mumbled it because she had her mouth guard in. So it was like, ooh, souvenir. And then she applied the Kirifuda clutch. She got the submission win. About 90 seconds this went. Ronda Rousey's music played. She walked to the ring in that very stern way that she does. She marched down to the ring. She tagged Baszler with a punch to the face. They wrestled around on the mat for a little bit. Baszler went for the clutch. Rousey escaped, tried for an armbar, but Baszler escaped. And she left the ring like the heel. Like the cowardly heel. Now, last week was very different because she came out last week. They had to know she was going to get a positive reaction because of the comments she made. It was designed that way. Shayna came off as the babyface, Ronda as the heel, even though the psychology of this is backwards because Ronda is the one who got betrayed. So she should be the babyface, but she sure wasn't portrayed that way last week. And yet here, you would watch this segment and think the exact opposite. It's like last week didn't even happen. It's like last week did not even happen. Ronda comes down to the ring. She goes after Shayna. Shayna runs away. So I'm not sure who the babyface is supposed to. Who are we supposed to cheer for in this feud? In their eyes, it's probably Ronda Rousey. They're in for a rude awakening, I think, at SummerSlam, if that's what they think. Not much of a reaction for Baszler this week, as I told you, as I predicted. Not much of a reaction for Shayna or Ronda, either, when Ronda came out. But, look, I don't know how the match is going to go at SummerSlam, but Buffalo did not find either woman here particularly interesting and react to either one of them overwhelmingly over the other. It was just kind of flat. So it made the segment feel flat. Then it was time for Cody Rhodes, who never gets a flat reaction when he comes out. He's been able to sustain his popularity since WrestleMania. Came out to the ring to deliver a message to old Brock Lesnar, who was not in attendance tonight. Cody asked the millions of fans watching at home to indulge him because he wanted to turn his back for a moment to the camera to just acknowledge all of these people. All 10,000 people, I believe, was the attendance that they had in Buffalo tonight. And he turned, and everybody was cheering for Cody as he gazed out into the crowd. He said, sometimes there seems to be an invisible wall between the fans and the ring, but he always felt like the fans were in there with him, and he appreciated that. He recalled being asked at a press event in the UK, which I guess would have been Money in the Bank weekend. Maybe it would have been the post-show press conference. I don't remember. I know he was asked a few questions on that show. But he remembers being asked at a press event in the UK about his momentum. And it still haunts him. And his answer still haunts him. He says that he answered honestly, though. He cited the fans. He says every city we go to is sold out. Every crowd is louder than the next. And, of course, everybody cheered loud. By every metric, he says, I'm doing just fine. But he knew that he was stalled because of the mountain that was Brock Lesnar. And he informed the crowd that Brock was not there tonight because he didn't think Buffalo was worth the trip. But he's being told that Brock will be on Raw next week in Atlanta. Well, I mean, look, Buffalo is not Atlanta, so I can't say that I blame Brock. Rhodes said that everybody had a Brock Lesnar in their life. Could be a fear of heights. Could be a crippling anxiety. It could be student loan debt. Or just student debt, I guess. I'm thinking back to my days of student loan. Thankfully, I've paid off all my student loans. The problem with me is it was all private loans. Non-consolidated private loans with a variable interest rate. The worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. Thankfully, I busted my ass with this podcast and this channel, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore. but there are a lot of people who do. So he cited student debt as an example of a Brock Lesnar in your life. Maybe it's a terrible boss. Could be spicy wings. We all have a Brock Lesnar, was the point. That thing that is impeding us from the most important step that we can take. Called Brock a walking billboard for Darwinism and natural selection. Cody wants to be the man that dreams things and says not why, but why not. I thought, the one thing about Cody promos, I will say, and again, he always gets a reaction during these promos. He knows how to communicate with the crowd, but you can't help but watch a Cody promo and think, man, what office is he running for? Is he running for mayor? Is he running for congressman? Is he running for senator? If he wanted to, he'd make a great politician. Him on the campaign trail stumping, always in that suit. It's like he's practicing. But it works. So he said he wants a rubber match at SummerSlam. Nothing would make him happier than next week if he came to the ring and he shook Brock's hand. If he didn't, it would be another night of Rhodes popping him in the head and attacking him with a chair to end this chapter that Lesnar started for no reason, he said. At last. At last, they at least acknowledge it on television that we never got an explanation for why this was happening in the first place. They're self-aware. Oh, they fucking know. They fucking know. They know that they never gave us an explanation for why this feud started to begin with. And we never will get that explanation. So he says, why would I want a match with Brock? Why do I have to? It's because what comes from that fight. That guy who wins is next in line. And the prince doesn't want to be the prince forever. Cody said that he will be the next in line. So this was the usual good promo from Cody and pretty paint-by-number stuff. Yeah, it's a good promo. Got the desired reaction he was looking for. He's always good with those kind of closing lines. Last week it was, I'll fight Brock Lesnar. What was it? I'll fight Brock Lesnar anywhere. I'll fight Brock Lesnar everywhere. Sometimes he knows how to close these things with a memorable closing statement. But no new ground covered here. Because we already knew from his promo last week that he wanted Brock Lesnar. This was just him mentioning SummerSlam as far as a date and location for it. But we already knew this. So there was no forward movement whatsoever. It was just, okay, we don't have Brock this week. We're saving him for Atlanta. But we want Cody on the show. So Cody, do your thing. They don't script his shit. They give him bullet points. They'll let him go out there. They let him, because they trust him enough to go out there and deliver it in the way that he delivers it. So that's what this was. Go out there. Let it be known that you want Brock at SummerSlam. And now Brock can show up on the show next week for 90 seconds. Accept the challenge. And then he'll be back on his plane before we even get to the middle of hour 2. Because that's the thing. I mean, now that we know Brock Lesnar is going to be on the show next week, you know that Brock, he ain't going to be doing much on the show. Brock's going to show up. Brock's going to have his cowboy hat on. There'll probably be another pull-apart brawl. Maybe he'll say a few words if we're lucky. He might speak. And then that'll be it. So I would not expect much from this appearance from Brock Lesnar. Then we have The Miz. One-on-one against Tommaso Ciampa. This was no disqualification. This was a rematch from a previous match they had here on this show. Miz booted Ciampa over the announce desk. This was coming out of a commercial break. Miz rolled Ciampa back inside the ring. He picked up a table that Ciampa had pulled out, and then he got heat by sliding it back. Ciampa then threw various weapons inside the ring. He pulled out a table, got a big pop. He slid the table into the ring, set it up. They ended up on the ropes, and they came crashing down through the table when Ciampa gave Miz an air raid crash. Miz's back was sliced up a little bit. He was bleeding from the back. We got hardcore Miz here on this. You see, Jon Moxley will be very happy to see blood here in this match. It's not realistic enough for Jon Moxley until somebody bleeds. Doesn't matter what part of the body they bleed from. As long as there's blood, Jon Moxley is happy. So even Miz got color here in this match. Ciampa dragged him over. He tried to go for the pin to put an end to the match when Bronson Reed showed up. Now, Bronson Reed was feuding for weeks and weeks with Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. Two men who were in Money in the Bank. Bronson Reed was not in Money in the Bank, yet he continued to feud with Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura, which got me thinking, okay, maybe he'll get involved in the Money in the Bank match or coming out of Money in the Bank. You know, they'll pay this off somehow. Nope. It was just they didn't have any other ideas for him on television other than to just have him work matches with Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. And apparently that's over with, and now he's paired back up with The Miz because he pulled Ciampa out of the ring and saved The Miz. Then he ended up putting Ciampa back in the ring. He gave him a tsunami splash. Bronson Reed walked out. Miz, back all cut up and bleeding, crawled over to Ciampa, hooked the leg, and he got the pin. And The Miz defeats Tommaso Ciampa. And do you know what the significance of that is? Do you know what this means? The Miz finally won a match in 2023. It is July 10th. Well, now it's July 11th, but let's pretend it's still July 10th. It's July 10th. The Miz won his first match all year on this show. And he beat Tommaso Ciampa to do it. A little bit of help from Bronson Reed. This was a callback to Reed helping Miz win his ladder match with Dexter Lumis on Raw at the end of last year. That was when Reed returned to the company. Corey Graves did make mention on commentary of the fact that Reed, he was a paid assassin basically for Miz in the past, a hired gun. Now, I know some people are going to look at this and they're going to go, what are they doing with Bronson Reed, right? And it's a valid question. Like I just said, feuding with Ricochet and Nakamura and not even in Money in the Bank. It's like, I don't think they know what they're doing with this guy. But what I see this as, and why I don't have an issue with this, whatever they're doing with him and Miz is not going to be a long-term thing. Okay, this is not going to be like, oh my God, he's back with Miz, he's going to be the next Mizdow, or fucking Alex Riley, and he's going to be with Miz on a long-term basis. This is short-term. This is short-term to SummerSlam, as I see it. There have been a lot of rumors lately about Johnny Gargano finally being cleared from his injury, or injuries, whatever it is, and he could be on his way back any week now. I've been saying, ever since Ciampa got called up to the main roster, we need a DIY reunion. And clearly they started teasing it a little bit before Gargano went away. So if Gargano is cleared in time for SummerSlam and he's ready to come back, as I see this here, I'm looking at this, if the idea is to pair up Bronson Reed and Miz, so now Ciampa is outnumbered. It's 2-on-1. He needs help. Who does he turn to? He turns to his best friend. He turns to his former tag team partner. We get the return of Johnny Gargano. We get the reunion of DIY. We get them on the main roster for the first time. And we get a match at SummerSlam where it's DIY against Miz and Bronson Reed. Miz being in the match, he's in there to take the loss so that Bronson Reed doesn't have to. And when Miz loses the match for his team, when the match is over, right? So DIY gets a big win at SummerSlam at Ford Field. When the match is over, Bronson Reed and The Miz, they're done. And Reed puts him down with a tsunami splash, gets a big pop, and that's the end of this short-term alliance. If that's the plan here, and I just mapped the whole thing out, I hope that is the plan, I'm okay with that. Gets Bronson Reed a match on the SummerSlam card? Maybe. Again, Triple H likes to keep these cards, he likes to keep them relatively brief, so who knows, maybe they won't make the card, but if that's the plan, then I'm all for it. I'm all for a DIY reunion. I think that's exactly what they should be doing. Ciampa could still do singles. Gargano could still do singles. But even if they don't, start out doing the tag team stuff. Let them shine. Let them win the tag team titles at some point. There's plenty of time to let them branch out and go single. Gargano's been on the main roster for a while now. He's not over. He's not. You could blame the booking. You could blame the fact, obviously, he's been missing time due to injury. There's, inconsistent appearances on television. That doesn't help. He's not over. So how do you get these two guys over who are not really getting reactions from the crowd because the crowd doesn't care because they don't really know who they are? Put them together in a tag team again. They were a great tag team. And if you let them go out there when the bell rings and do what they do best, put them in there, especially with some of the teams they have. Put them in there with an Imperium, if there is still an Imperium. Put them in there with Owens and Zayn. Put them in there with the Street Profits. Put them in there with the Judgment Day. Their work together will get them over. And then when they're more established and people, maybe they actually finally care about them, then they can branch out and do other things. That's why I think it's smart to do the DIY thing now. Don't wait. Do it now. I think that's the match for SummerSlam. Then Bronson Reed can squash Miz and he can go on to do something else. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, they confronted Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan in the gorilla position because they didn't want them ringside for their upcoming match. And Raquel told both of them to relax. Rhea Ripley showed up. She got up in Raquel's face, and she warned her not to get involved in her business again or else it was going to be strike 3. And Chelsea Green kind of peered over Rhea's shoulder like, yeah, thinking they're all buddies here. She says, strike 3, you're out, just like basketball. Ripley got in Chelsea's face, so Sonya kind of said, oh, well, I think we got a match. We got to get out of here. And they headed to the ring. Liv Morgan told Rhea they got involved last week because she was a bully who disrespected Natalya. And Raquel cut off Liv and told Rhea that they would stop her. So, again, Raquel and Rhea seems to be the direction for SummerSlam. We had Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green against Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. There were a couple of rough spots here in this match, including an awkward sunset flip back into the ring by Chelsea Green where she went for it. She did the flip and she tried to, but then they kind of fell to the side a little bit and this did not end up well. Carter and Chance, they did a double team splash on Chelsea. They had her beat, but Sonya broke it up. Moments later, Chelsea hooked Chance into a pin, and Sonya held her partner's legs for added leverage on the rope. The referee did not see it. She counted 3. Sonya and Chelsea pick up the win, and that makes them number 1 contenders for the women's tag team titles. A 2-minute nothing match, a 2-minute rushed match on the show. And just like that, we have number 1 contenders for the tag team title. Or I guess technically they had the gauntlet, right? So I guess technically that's where they got their status, but they were pushing the fact that they're getting a tag team championship match next week. The point is, for a team that's getting a title match next week, they kind of threw this out there. Crowd was ice cold for this. Nobody cared. It was a little rough. This was not a good showcase for a team that is getting a championship match next week. But they are, in fact, next Monday going to challenge for the tag team titles. So there you go. Byron Saxton was in the back interviewing Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle. McIntyre said that, look, I've been watching the show for the past few months. And I've noticed all of the different groups that have popped up trying to use numbers to their advantage. McIntyre said he's dealt with that before and he was tired of it, so he and Riddle planned on eradicating them, starting with Imperium. Riddle looked forward to beating Gunther next week, so they're going to have a match, by the way. Oh, by the way, Riddle and Gunther are in a match next week, and it's clearly non-title, unless they change the script between now and then, because if it was for the championship, they would have mentioned that. They did not mention that. What they did mention is McIntyre suggested, look, you might want to push that match back by a week. He goes, I got some company business. I'm not going to be here next week. I'm not going to be on the show. Riddle said that he was one step ahead of him because he got Vinci and Kaiser banned from ringside. So that is the stipulation for the match. It is not for the title, but Kaiser and Vinci will not be ringside for the Riddle match with Gunther next week. And our main event tonight was Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn taking on Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. A few minutes into the match, Balor took a cheap shot at Owens from the apron. Rollins then took Balor to the floor. Then Dominic and Sami fought right alongside them. Damian Priest joined in the fight. So now Kevin Owens, not one to be left out, climbs up to the top. He does a cannonball to the floor. He wipes out the Judgment Day. That took us into the break. Later in the match, Rollins super kicked Priest into Balor, who got knocked off the apron. So, Rollins then put Priest down with a pedigree, had the win, but Balor got back in the ring very quickly, and he broke up the pin. There was a rough spot, a rare rough spot. You don't see this from Rollins and Balor usually. Maybe they were rushing because they were running low on time. I don't know, but there was a rough spot here where Balor demanded the tag from Priest, and Priest gave it to him. Balor gets in the ring, and he and Seth were on two different pages as far as what they were going to do next. Balor went for the sling blade. Rollins, he started to do that twist. He does that kind of twisting forearm. Well, he did that at the same time that Balor was coming in for the sling blade, and Rollins did take a bump for it. He kind of went over. It was weird. It did not look good. It did not look good. Dominic made a blind tag. Balor put Rollins down, and then Dom hit the frog splash. Sammy tried to break up the pin. He ended up hitting Rollins after Dominic moved. Zayn tagged in. He performed a Blue Thunder Bomb, which looked more like a toss. Balor, who came back with a sling blade and a shotgun drop kick after that. Zayn avoided the double stop, though. He put him down with a proper Blue Thunder Bomb. Zayn had the win, but Dominic broke it up. Owens put Dom down with a stunner, and I thought he sold this stunner great. It's a great sell by Dominic. Sammy set up for the haluva kick, but Ripley grabbed his foot. Priest then caught him with the South of Heaven chokeslam. Balor follows up with the coup de grace, and he pins Sami Zayn, one half of the undisputed tag team champions. After the match, Balor and Priest, they glared at each other, and it looked like we might have an issue here between these two men, but then Damian Priest flashed a smile. Two of them shook hands and they hugged. All is right with the Judgment Day for now. For now. They'll be back on NXT in less than 24 hours. The ending of this match here would seem to set up a tag team title match, probably for an episode of Raw in a few weeks, between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and the Judgment Day, because Balor pinned Sami Zayn. Not only did Balor pin Sami Zayn, remember what Rhea Ripley said earlier in the show. The Judgment Day, they want all the titles, right? And she specifically put Owens and Zayn on notice and said that we want your titles. So clearly, Finn Balor and Damian Priest are going to get a tag team championship match. I assume it will be on TV and not SummerSlam, because then who does Seth Rollins defend his title against if not Finn Balor? So they'll do this match sometime in the next few weeks, and there's going to be some miscommunication. Something's going to happen, and it's going to reignite the drama between them all over again. This kumbaya stuff is only temporary between Balor and Priest. But that was Monday Night Raw, a very middle-of-the-road show. It's just one of those weeks where, again, if the show was 2 hours long, like SmackDown is, it would force them to trim the fat that we had on this episode, and it would have been a better show. It would have been a better show. I like the Judgment Day, but it's like I said at the top of the stream. I could do without 3 hours of the Judgment Day. And beyond the Judgment Day, there just is not a whole lot on this show right now that I find terribly interesting. I just don't. Here's a Twitter poll. Ooh, look at that. That's about as close as it has been in a very long time. 51-49. It's like one of our presidential elections. Look at this. 51-49. 51% thumbs up, 49% thumbs down. So it's virtually a dead heat right now. Almost a dead heat between the thumbs up. What did I just say? What did I say at the beginning of the stream? Middle of the road show, and look at where the poll is. The poll is in the middle of the fucking road. Do I know what I'm talking about or not? Am I not a voice of the people? Come on. This show was the definition of mid. There you go. Don't ever doubt me. Don't ever doubt me. It's like I know what I'm talking about. All right. Well, let's see what you guys are talking about. I want to take a look at your super chats here. I want to thank everybody who has not only dropped a super chat, quiet night, slow night here, but we're also lagging on the likes, so we're around 350. 400 is the goal for Be the Booker. Looks like we might fall short tonight, but we'll see. In the time that it takes for me to get through your super chats, if we hit 400, then we'll do the deal. Let's start out here with Lady Fire Panda. Hey, Fire Panda, thank you for the $21 super chat. I appreciate that. Fire Panda has a theory. The reason the mods don't tell us how much you pay them to keep us children in check is because the amount is ridiculously high so high that we can't even comprehend it. Oh, it's super high. It's super high. Hey Jay, I get high on my own supply. I've been doing this long enough. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Downbad says it seems like they have no idea what to do with Bronson Reed these past few months. It's true. They had nothing for him. He wasn't even on the pay-per-view. Rizzo says, I feel so helpless watching that poor green guy. Yes, at the beginning of the stream. Poor bastard. Rodimus Prime with the $5. The intro is exactly how I felt about tonight's show, but worse. The only thing I liked was the face-off between Rhea and Raquel. Beyond mid tonight. That's right. See, Uffman. Uffman, super high. That's right. Uffman, look, Uffman's been driving around, man, in a Mercedes, in S-Class. Why do you think he's driving around in a Benz? These mods, man. These mods are making bank. DEH Sire's Raw would be solid if it wasn't on a Monday. No, it doesn't matter what day of the week it's on. It doesn't matter what day of the week it's on. It don't matter. Uffman's pulling in like 7 figures, man. He's got to have like 3 accountants crunch the numbers every year. It's a lot to keep you guys in check. It takes a lot of effort. You like the Benz? Uffman likes the Benz. Good. Good. What's the gas mileage on that? Did you put that sunroof in like I told you to? Did you get that version? The Real CS, is it WWE's choice to have Raw 3 hours, or is it a USA Network call? It is a USA Network call. Cameron Johnson, birthday shout out from Solomonster. I turned 22 at midnight. Since it is now 12:30, that means that he is 22, so happy 22nd birthday. Oh, look at this. Look who it is. Solo Mania running wild. Happy birthday, Cameron. Steve Mello is loving the Camry. Well, I thought it suited you best. I thought this is a Toyota man right here. It's the simple things in life. But hey, when the lease is up, you can shoot for a Hyundai. I hear the Sonata. It's a good one. It's a good one. So BlissFan is celebrating a birthday on Thursday. BlissFan turns 23. How about that? We got to wish a happy birthday to BlissFan. BlissFan is not getting the gifts that he was hoping for this year. I know exactly what BlissFan would like, but unfortunately he's not going to get that. But happy birthday to BlissFan. Hunter's Hybrid Media. Let me talk to you. Kevin Nash can suck it. Yeah. From Hunter's Hybrid Media. There you go. Rizzo with the $10 super chat. What is the point of Emma being back? I either forget that she's here or she's getting squashed. Also, is it time to part ways with the Viking Raiders or at least give them a makeover? They already had a makeover. I mean, what else can you do with them? You know, they're fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Viking Raiders. It's just that I'm not particularly interested in what they're doing. The Viking Raiders that you see now, that is a repackaging of them from how they were before. Remember, they were off television for a while. They They had all those vignettes. They put new makeup on. This is the makeover. The only other possible way you can make up the Viking Raiders, you want to give them a makeover? Make over the Viking Raiders? You go completely in the opposite direction. Vince McMahon would love that. You have them come out to the ring and dance. Like Rikishi. You put Eric and Ivar in a couple of thongs and you put some sunglasses on them and you have them do a dance. That's the only way to really make them over, because this is the makeover. There is nothing else to make over. Justin Santiago, long time no hear solo. Funny how you mentioned jackets being stolen, and then tonight it happens. Also, Prime ain't got nothing on OG Four Loko. I remember when they banned Four Loko. That was a big thing here in New York. Everybody, there was like a big run on all the cans of Four Loko. Uffman Entertainment. I once took a tiny sip of Monster and I had to sit down. I literally felt the drink running through my veins. It was a horrible feeling. Well, when you take a sip of the Monster, I mean, that's what happens. Now you've learned your lesson. EJ Slemp wants to give a shout out to his boss, Mr. Short Hitter's YouTube channel. He makes golf videos, and I will be appearing in a few this week. That's very cool. I almost misread that. But EJ, that's very cool. Dr. Scorpio, the payoff is that she is the next Karate Kid. Oh, he's talking about Maxxine Dupri. Thunder Force, better nickname, Gunther or Sheamus? Gunther. Fucking course. You kidding me? Drew Johnson was dropping Gunther bombs like they were going out of style the other night. Gunther is the man. Haven't seen him tonight, but Gunther is the man. Manuel Macias, what is your role with Hog? I know sometimes you talk about Hog on the channel. Should I become a subscriber? I love this channel. I watch it daily. It is fun. Well, I'm glad you enjoy the channel, Manuel. What is my role? I have multiple roles with Hog. I am the deputy dog. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Thank God I took the time to actually read it through before I verbally spoke it out loud. That would have been a very different YouTube channel. But I am the commissioner of House of Glory. I am also the color commentator for House of Glory, so I do both. And among other things where needed. And you can catch, if you want to catch some free matches they have up on the YouTube channel. There are some free matches. You go House of Glory Wrestling on YouTube, the official channel. You'll be able to find some free matches on there. If you want, we are now on Premier Streaming Network. You can find the entire library on there. It's a subscription site, but all the past events are archived there, so definitely give that a shot. Our next show is coming up August 18th. Friday, August 18th. It just so happens to be our biggest show of the year. High intensity. The very first House of Glory show that I ever attended and worked at was High Intensity in August of 2018. This is coming 5 years next month. Can you believe that? 5 years with House of Glory. Devin from NJ2000, best SummerSlam from the Brooklyn era, 2015 to 2018. I mean, offhand, I don't even remember all the cards. I was at 2015. 2015 was a lot of fun. 2015 had the Sasha Banks and Bayley match, so I'm partial to that. I'm going to go 2015. 2015 was the first one. It was incredible being in the building for that. It was great. So I would go 2015. Wapatapa says, you were right, Solo. See, that's going to be the evergreen super chat from now. No context or anything. Just, you were right. I wish I could pin that at the top of the list. HBKC83, what would you do with Bobby Lashley when he returns? Roman Reigns is going to beat Jey Uso at SummerSlam, and then the bloodline will be done, most likely, or the bloodline as we know it. And Roman Reigns is going to have to move on to somebody. I think a Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley feud is overdue. Rizzo, just for Bliss fans' birthday, let me throw an ending to SummerSlam. Roman beats Jay. He is demolishing both Usos and demands that Solo join in. Solo spikes Roman, and the brothers leave. While Roman is by himself in the ring, furious, the lights go out, and the Fiend shows up. Oh, God. The Fiend shows up and mandible claws Roman to end SummerSlam. Now, I can't help you with an Alexa Bliss story, sadly, but happy birthday to Bliss fan. Does Uso versus Roman sound like a SummerSlam worthy match to any of you? This year it does, because the story has built up Jey Uso in a way where, I mean, just listen to the crowd in any arena they go to. Look at the numbers. People are buying into Jey Uso in this story. Do people honestly believe that Jey Uso is going to be a world champion? They might say that they do. I don't think they do. I don't think the vast majority of people see Jey Uso being the one to dethrone Roman and be the next champion, the next guy. I don't believe that. And I certainly don't see that. But do they buy into Jey Uso as somebody who can, carry a SummerSlam main event with Roman Reigns, who belongs in that spot? This year he does, yeah. Because this story has been building for so long. This match was going to happen at some point. If it wasn't SummerSlam, it would have been another pay-per-view. It just so happened they wanted to do this match at SummerSlam. So I buy into it because they've told the story so well, and Jey Uso has gotten over so well in this story, that I buy him as a SummerSlam main eventer this year. I wouldn't have bought him as a SummerSlam main eventer, 2 or 3 years ago. And I might not buy him as a SummerSlam main eventer next year. But yes, I think he belongs in that spot this year. I think he's earned that spot. But, there are going to be people, and like Michael, who feel like a big stadium show like SummerSlam should have a main event bigger than Roman Reigns against one half of the former tag team champions. He's certainly not the biggest star or the biggest name that they could put in there with Roman. But I think, again, for the story, I think it works. Rizzo says, sorry, Solo, I did it for Bliss fan. All right, well, you were just trying to do a solid. You were trying to do what we call a mitzvah. So that's cool. You were trying to be a nice guy. You weren't trying to will anything into existence, because that is not how I want SummerSlam to come to it. So I think we are caught up on the super chats. So Rizzo, thank you. The goal was 400. We are now at 403. How about that? You know what's sad about Raw? What's sad about Raw? Of all the streams that I do, including the 2 collision streams that I've done, and I knew the first one would do well. Raw is like the worst performing of all the streams. It's like, why even bother? Why, hanging out with you guys is the best part, but is it really worth it to continue to subject myself to this every Monday? I mean, seriously, of all of them, it is the slowest and the worst performing out of all of them. But that's Raw. That's Monday Night Raw. It's Mundane Night Raw. I'm obviously not the only one who feels that way. You know what? I think Steve's right. It's what I said at the beginning. I think it puts half the people to sleep. Half the people are like, all right, we got Solo tonight after Raw, and by like midway through the show, they're fucking slobbering all over their pillow. Oh, man. Mundane Night Raw. Well, I'll tell you what's not mundane, because you guys hit the goal. I'm going to wake some of you up. It's time to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Time to wake up. I'm going to book some matches here. Let me see those B2B emojis in the chat. Be the booker. I will do what Raw failed to do tonight. I will book some marquee matches, and if I don't, well, then you'll just have to wait for next time. We'll kick things off here. Here we go. Here's how you kick things off. You kick things off with the 16-time world champion. You kick things off with John Cena. That's how we do this. John Cena. Here and Be the Booker. Hey, Yachiru, have a good night, man. John Doe just woke up. There you go. There's one person who just woke up. You just barely made it to the stream. I'm telling you, Raw is putting people to sleep left and right. Dynamite, SmackDown, Collision, Monday. These last several Mondays, it's like, where the fuck is everybody? Something about Raw. John Cena gonna go one-on-one with the other 16-time world champion, Ric Flair. Oh, he's actually 21-time, but how about that? We landed on the two 16-time world champions, John Cena, one-on-one against the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I've already topped this entire episode of Raw just by booking a single match. See, this is why we do Be the Booker. This is why we do what we do. All right, let's go to the ladies Be the Booker. Cena versus Flair. That's going to be a tough one to top here, but let's see. We start out here with Michin. Mia Yim. Kicking us off here. Be the Booker. Mia Yim going to go one-on-one with Athena. Big fan of Athena and the work that she's doing right now with Ring of Honor. I only wish that more people were able to see it. I don't think too many people actually watch Ring of Honor, so they don't appreciate what this woman is doing right now as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. But she is on a roll. She's on a tear. She's got like a 50-match win streak going on. She's kicking people's asses. She's going to be wrestling Willow Nightingale on Rampage this Friday in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. There you go. We're 2 for 2 so far. All right, let's book ourselves a tag team match here to close things out. Let's close things out in a big way. We begin with the former 3-time WWE Tag Team Champions, Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers. Look at those tag team belts. Those old classic WWF tag team title belts. Love those belts. Oops. Rick and Scott. Here we go. All right. Drum roll, please. The Steiner brothers getting in the ring with the twin towers of the Big Boss Man and Akeem. I'm giving him the bell. I'm giving him the bell just for Akeem's hat. Look how happy he is. And also because the Big Boss Man fucking ruled. This was the heavier version of the Big Boss Man before he lost all that weight. Big Boss Man, though, for a big guy, he could bump like a mofo. Could have been fun seeing Scott Steiner throwing around Big Boss Man at that weight. So there you go. 3 for 3. We swept things. It was a clean sweep. It'd Be the Booker. And still one of the funniest and also scariest things that I've seen involved Akeem and a bump that he took when they wrestled the Mega Powers on NBC. He hit the ropes. He was hitting the ropes. And it wasn't like he was running to the ropes. He was just kind of slowly falling back into the ropes. He was going to do a splash. And I don't remember what it was. I think somebody was pulling the rope down and he didn't realize it. And he just fell. He like vanished. He just fell through I think he fell through the middle and the bottom rope somehow. Maybe it was the top and the middle. I don't remember. But he fell out of the ring. and just backwards, head first, took a header on the floor. And he's a big guy. You know, he's every bit of, I don't know what he was, 320 maybe at the time. He's a big fucking guy. That was a scary botch in that match. Funny, though. I mean, look, he wasn't hurt, right? So we can laugh. It was funny, though. Yeah, that's right. Hogan didn't know what to do. Hogan was out on the apron. Hogan just stood there. Maybe Hogan was the one holding the rope. I got to go back and watch that now. I hope they didn't edit that out in the version on the network on Peacock. Oh, look who has returned, our boy. Did John Cena and Ric Flair ever face each other in a match? I don't believe so, no. I don't believe so. I mean, Brock Lesnar wrestled Flair. I know that. But did John Cena wrestle him? No. I think Batista, Orton, obviously Triple H. I don't ever recall a match between Cena and Flair. But our boy, I Smoke a Lot of Weed, has returned, dropping a $9.99 super chat. Favorite Money in the Bank cash-in of 2010. Swagger on Jericho on SmackDown. Kane on Mysterio the same night. Miz on Orton on Raw, or Batista cashing in his Batista in the Bank on Cena at Elimination Chamber that year. I don't even remember that one. Was that 20... What year was that? Was that 2011? No, 2010. Was that 2010? When he was when he did the Hollywood Batista stuff? I don't remember. I mean, I guess of the ones that you mentioned here, it would either be Batista or Miz on Orton. The Swagger one was funny because I think Jericho's shoe, his dress shoe, went flying into the crowd. I know a shoe went flying. But the idea of Swagger as the World Heavyweight Champion is just fucking idiotic to me. As much now as it was back then. Especially now, looking back at it. Jay with a $4.99 says, I vote to cancel the Raw stream for weekly Collision. Thanks for all that you do. I can't guarantee that. I will do Collision when I can, but you're not going to get weekly Collision. But I am leaning towards doing it this weekend because we're going to get that rematch with FTR and Bullet Club Gold. But to do the entire 3 hours, I mean, maybe I would do Collision and leave off Battle of the Belts, because I don't give a shit about Battle of the Belts. Kingpin. Random thought, whenever they are ready to give Dominic some wins, he should get D'Lo Brown's old vest. No, not the vest, the chest protector. Yeah, they should do an angle. Dominic gets the chest protector. So then Kevin Nash on his next podcast can go, you know, there used to be a guy that would come out and would shake his head who had the same gimmick on TV. He's just ripping him off.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
All hail the mighty Gunther. Oh shit, I did the wrong voice.
All hail. I think I did the wrong voice. All hail. That was Gunther with his balls in a vice, is what that was. All hail the mighty Gunther. My balls are fine. My balls are good now. All hail.
Look, even Gunther sometimes has some issues. You know, his pants are too tight. Look, yeah, leave the guy alone. All right, cut him some slack. You got to cut him some slack. Who was that? That was Hydrograd with a $50 Gunther bomb. Just made it to the stream 10 minutes ago, but here's a Gunther super chat in hopes that Vincenzo doesn't break up Imperium after that segment tonight. You and me both. You and me both, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all for poor Giovanni Vinci. Although, let's be honest, even as part of Imperium, it doesn't look good for poor Giovanni Vinci. Lady Fire Panda with another $21 super chat. Not only will Bray take the titles off of Roman, but Roman will retire out of shame. So saith Fire Panda. I know somebody in the chat who would agree with you. Yeah, Gunther has something the Miz doesn't have. Massive balls. That's right. You know, by the way, that little Gunther botch was more entertaining than pretty much everything you saw on that television show tonight. And don't even fucking try to tell me otherwise. I smoke a lot of weed with a $9.99. I've been working a lot. I got my own place, moved to Canoga, which is right next to Reseda. Left from North Hollywood, which is right next to Valley Village, where Jungle Jim is from. All I heard there is Reseda. I know Reseda. I feel like Reseda is a very triggering word for some people. Get a lot of varied opinions when you say Reseda. But I smoke a lot of weed. Thank you very much. Thank you, brother. Miz has something that Gunther doesn't. Maurice. Well, that is undoubtedly true. But, you know, Gunther's not doing too bad himself. He's with Ginny, formerly of NXT UK. So they just got married recently. I think Gunther's doing okay for himself. I think he's doing okay for himself. Third Day Tees Print Shop. Dropping a $1.99. My son is watching. Can you give Logan a shout out? Well, let me tell you something, Logan. There was a Logan on this television show tonight that I do not like. You are the better Logan of the two, so I will happily give Logan a shout out. The only Logan that matters here on this stream tonight, it's not Logan Paul. It's you. So shout out to Logan. I hope you're having a good night. I feel like it's past Logan's bedtime. But Logan, thank you, man. I hope you're good, brother. Vinny the Fish, channel member for 13 months. Look at that. You know how I know? Vinny's got the red skull. He's got the red skull next to his name. That's how I know. That's how I know Vinny's part of my crew. Do you think Dominic will eventually take Ray's mask when Ray retires? Or stick with the Eddie vibes? I think when Ray is ready to call it quits, you definitely do something with the mask. Mask versus hair, something like that. Ray's not slowing down anytime soon, but I think, yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? Ha! Third Day says it's the summer. He's up for the Solomonster. Good. I like it. That's smart parenting right there. But Logan is the man tonight. Logan is the man. Fire Panda just gifted a channel membership. Thank you, Fire Panda. And everybody else, too. I know a bunch of other people gifted him as well. I saw them earlier. So I acknowledge you. I just don't have them all listed in front of me. But thank you to everybody who has become a channel member tonight or gifted a membership. It's very cool. The Mount Vernon Kid has been a member for 14 months. Says, Solo, I'm with you. I hate the Rollins chat. I hated it after a week. I am sick. Well, you mean the theme song. Yeah, it just gets on my nerves. I mean, the people like it, so if I had a compromise, let them sing his music instead of doing the what chant. So, but I just find it annoying. But what do I know? All right, I'm just an old curmudgeon here, right? All right, so this has been a good old time here tonight. Thanks to all of you. Hell of a lot more entertained than I was watching this television show. Solomonster is better than Solo Sikoa. That's right. I was here before he was. Florida man is about to have the GWO in the news for weeks. Hydrograd feels the same way about Judas. You know, Judas has not gotten on my nerves. I like Judas. And that doesn't bother me. And I guess it probably doesn't bother me because people aren't singing it every 2 seconds. They just sing it when he comes to the ring, and that's it. So I'm okay with that. But it's just the constant, like a fucking seance or something. It's like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. It's annoying. I smoke a lot of weed says, I deliver packages in Reseda, he says. I'll bet I know what's in those packages. I know what's in those packages. Trill Mexican 305. All hail the mighty Logan. Great review solo. Thank you, Trill Mexican. Reseda is in California. Reseda is, some people don't know what Reseda is. Reseda is in California. And that's PWG territory. It's where the Young Bucks made their name. I was going to say the Young Bucks are from Reseda. Technically, they're from Rancho Cucamonga, but basically they're associated with the Young Bucks. Yuri with the $5 super chat. Longtime fan, first time having time to donate live. Do you think AEW/Ring of Honor is doing all they can with Claudio? I think Claudio is in a very good position right now. You know, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion, so he gets to work that brand, but he's on Dynamite every week. And he's part of what is the top heel faction in the company right now. So he has a championship, and he's part of the top heel group. He's going to be in Blood and Guts next week. So yeah, I think Claudio's actually in a very good position right now. And eventually he'll have a babyface turn. And, you know, we'll see what they do with him at that point. But there are people on the roster there, you know, whether it's a Swerve Strickland or certain other people who I'm more concerned about. I'm not worried about Claudio. Claudio's in a good spot compared to a lot of people on that roster right now. Craig from Friday lives in Rancho Cucamonga. Maybe he's neighbors with the Bucks. NSJ is thinking about doing a super chat this Wednesday for his birthday. Well, I'll be here. So you know where to go and what to do. Nick Jackson's hairline is Reseda-ing. Wait. There you go. People say it wrong all the time. What do, Yuri, are you talking about Claudio's name, or are you talking about Rancho Cucamonga? Do I think Blood and Guts for Kota Ibushi is a one-off for him in AEW? I'm going to guess that it is not a one-off. He'll do more. He might even be at Wembley Stadium. But do I think he's going to sign a deal with them? I don't. But do I think Blood and Guts is going to be the one and only match he does in AEW? No, I don't. I think he'll do more. Drew still can't tell the Young Bucks apart. I mean, they're just by their hair color alone, it should be easy enough to tell them apart. Plus, Nick has does Matt have facial hair? I know Nick has like a beard now, or scruff or something. Yeah, no, that's weird. The Young Bucks are easily identifiable. Even the Usos, like the Usos are twins, but to me, it's very easy to tell Jimmy and Jay apart. There's still people who can't. There's still people who think that they're so identical they cannot tell who is Jimmy and who is Jay. I've always been able to tell one from the other. Jimmy's a little bit heavier. But Jay now has kind of, his look has changed enough where, again, I don't really understand how people could have difficulty telling the Usos apart, but I guess some people do. No, I didn't see the. I'm way behind on the WWE Most Wanted Treasures. The last episode I saw might have been the Goldberg one. I didn't see the Roddy Piper one. I didn't see the Kurt Angle one, and the Samoan Dynasty I think is the finale. So I have to play catch up on that. What are they? What is Mick Foley lowballing them now on? What items are they lowballing them on? $2,500. I gotta watch that now and find out. Okay. Well, okay. Steve says that's a good point too. They're fraternal twins, not identical. So yeah, again, there's no reason people can't tell them apart, but some people can. Why am I against Jey Uso taking the title off Roman? Because Jey Uso is not the guy. I think the person who beats Roman Reigns should be that next person who they build around for however many months. I don't need to see them hold the title for 3 years. I just don't see I don't see them getting behind Jey Uso as that guy. Jey Uso is not going to be the guy who goes on to feud with the Bobby Lashleys and the AJ Styles of the world. I don't see him as that person. So he could beat Roman and get a cool moment. The only way that makes sense to me is if he's immediately cashed in on by Damian Priest. And I don't see Damian Priest cashing in for that title. So if LA Knight had won Money in the Bank, I mean, it would probably just turn him instantly heel. It would kill this babyface push that he's got right now. But he's a SmackDown guy. That I could see. But he didn't win the briefcase, so that's not going to happen. Did I listen to any hip-hop growing up? Yeah. Did I hear Will Ospreay said he never wants to work for WWE? Now, Will Ospreay said that he doesn't want to move to the United States. Under no circumstances does he want to move to the U.S., and I understand that. Not everybody wants to uproot their lives and leave home and move to a foreign country. And if he's not willing to move to the U.S., then he's never going to sign with WWE. So, but I haven't heard him outright say, I will never work for WWE. I think it's more just a case of he does not want to move to this country. So, can't fault him for that. Yuri with the $5 super chat. Brett is my GOAT as well. Who from the modern New Japan Pro Wrestling do you think, if he was still prime, would you like to see him cut it up with? Oh my God, Brett and Brett Okada. Brett Okada. Kidding me? Brett, if he was still prime and his knees weren't beat up like they are now, Brett and Tanahashi as well. Brett and Tanahashi, Brett and Okada. I mean, those guys would have fucking chopped it up. That would have been great. There's so many guys, Brett, and that style that he had. I mean, Brett, guys today that he could have worked with, oh my God. And I'm not even talking like Kurt Angle and Brock back when they were still prime. But like Brett today against some of these New Japan guys, Brett today against some of these AEW and Ring of Honor guys, and even in WWE, against somebody like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, even though, even in his mid-40s now. So many great matches. Ugh, it's too bad. Rizzo, devil's advocate about Ospreay. Didn't Gunther say the same thing, and now look at him. You never know what the future holds. Yeah, that was always a story on Walter. He didn't want to move. You know, he wasn't interested in going to WWE or to the main roster because he didn't want to move to the US until he did. Yeah, no one is saying Ospreay can't change his mind. You know, maybe 2 years from now he's singing a different tune. But if he's happy working in New Japan and New Japan has the working relationship with AEW, why go anywhere? I'm sure they're going to pay him well. He did say that he's going to start phasing down his independent bookings, though, because his body is just getting so beat up. But, I mean, if he's happy continuing carrying the flag for New Japan and he can still work AEW from time to time, like Forbidden Door and shows like that, guy's got it made. He doesn't have to go work for WWE. If he goes to work for WWE, he's not going to be able to be Will Ospreay. He's going to have to tone down his style and change his style. I don't think he wants to do that. I smoke a lot of weed with the $4.99 Small World Solo nearby where Ronda would train at. All of this being said it twice, in the San Fernando Valley, north of your boy Luis. Oh boy, don't say his name. You say his name 3 times, it's like Beetlejuice. He's going to appear. That's once. Do I have any Bret Hart memorabilia? I've got, I still have an old pair of Bret sunglasses from many years ago. I have, WWF used to do these old Spotlight magazines, so it would be an issue dedicated to a particular wrestler. They did one for Bret. This was in like 94. And I have that magazine cover signed by Bret and framed up on the wall. So that is probably my big piece of Bret memorabilia, I guess you would say, as far as like autographs. I don't have, a lot of stuff hanging with like autographs and stuff. I have a little kind of a miniature 2x4 that's signed by Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which I think is pretty cool. It's just one of those things, there's so many of those guys from that era who are just dying. They're getting older, they're dying, they're passing on. So to be able to have some items from them before, the inevitable happens, it's cool to be able to have some of that stuff. But yeah, I got a bunch of Bret stuff. Somebody, Keith, I think it was Keith. It might have been Keith Hart, so I don't know if Keith is listening, but shout out to him. Many years ago, he was at one of the cons, one of the conventions, not Tony. And unbeknownst to me, he met Bret and he got Bret to sign, I guess would it be Mattel? They did a special Bret Hart 1993 King of the Ring figure, which I didn't even know. He got Bret in pink Sharpie to sign the front cover of the action figure, and I think it says Bret Hart King of the Ring 93. So that's permanently in there. It's never been opened. It's again, it's one of those kind of prized possessions. So of course, King of the Ring 93 being my favorite pay-per-view, which I just did a watch along for that last month, if you missed it. So that's very cool too. And then the other thing is, and you guys know this if you watch all the streams, I forgot who it was, but one of my listeners, one of the fans of the show, he put together, and it's on the wall over there, but he made a giant Bret Hart Sprite from like the old WrestleFest. I don't even know if Bret was in WrestleFest. I don't think he was. But that 8-bit like video game art, and he did this giant Sprite. I don't even know what the material is, but it looks just like something out of one of those old games, but it's Bret. It's like, so I had him on the stream here with me once. I was kind of holding him up, and that's something that nobody else has. That was custom made by one of the listeners of the show. So I've been fortunate. I've gotten some pretty cool Bret stuff from fans of the show over the years. Rizzo says, before you can go, can you please do a chipmunk tsunami splash? Says Rizzo.
Tsunami splash. Tsunami splash. There you go. All right. And an itch.
There you go, Rizzo. There's your tsunami splash. And Yuri with a $10 super chat says, deep cut, what was your memory as a kid when the whole Val Venus I Choppy angle happened? As a tiny kid, me and my brother were like, oh my God, what? And then next week, he just played it off. Well, you know what that means? He was dickless. There was no dick to be cut. My reaction to it was, this is just stupid, and I laughed at it. I knew it was stupid, but I laughed anyway. Wally Yamaguchi was a funny guy. Wally Yamaguchi was a funny guy. Choppy your pee-pee. Just the way he did. It was so stupid, but... a lot of dumb shit. Dumb shit back in the Attitude Era, but yet it's still remembered to this day. It is still remembered. All right, this has been very fun. Thank you guys for all the super chats and for hanging out late with me here on a Monday night. HBKC83, it looks like he's going to get the last super chat here. Knowing Brett versus Owen cage match is your favorite cage match of all time, what other two cage matches would you round out your top three? Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. If you include Hell in a Cell, I mean, really, it's hard to top Michaels and Undertaker in the first one. Obviously, Undertaker and Mankind in the second one is the bigger spectacle of the two. If we're just talking cage matches, man, well, I'll tell you what, the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks, was it a couple of years ago now? Might have been a couple of years ago. They had one of the best cage matches that I've ever seen. So, I don't see how that couldn't be in that top three or top five at least, maybe top three. I'd probably put that one on there. What pay-per-view is that? Was that all out? Might have been All Out. I'm trying to think of one more that I can put on the list, like a cage match, just straight cage match. Oh, I know I'm forgetting something. You know what? I might go back to the U.S. title match. Might have been the I Quit cage match with Magnum and Tully from was it 85? Starrcade 85 maybe? I mean, that's a classic one. So that one is probably where, and I didn't see that at the time. I saw that later on because I was too young. I wasn't watching NWA at that time. But it's hard to top that one. Hard to top the emotion and the violence of that one and the screaming crowd and as over as Magnum was back then. And that was definitely a great one. Yeah, Drew says All Out 2021 was the Bucks and the Lucha Bros. And that was an incredible cage match. Jansport, no, the angle, the match itself that you're talking about was nothing special. But the angle that came after the Wyatts against the Usos in the cage when Daniel Bryan left the Wyatt family is one of the all-time great Raw angles, but it technically wasn't part of the match. I Smoke a Lot of Weed says, move that made you laugh. For me, it was JBL's clothesline from hell. Made you laugh. How much weed have you been smoking? Now, I'll tell you what, it wouldn't have made me laugh if I had to be on the receiving end of that thing. JBL's clothesline from hell was a brutal finish. It looked great. I'm sure it was not fun to take. I wouldn't say I laughed at it when I saw it. Yuri says, last one, Gunther against an NWA WCW legend. Who do you got? Vader. Gunther and Vader. How's that for a match? How's that for a match? That's how you end a stream. I'm going to be back with you guys Wednesday night. We'll be talking AEW Dynamite. Guess what we found out today? Tony Khan made the announcement. We're going to find out who the fifth man is on the babyface side for the Elite. And we're going to find out who the fifth man is for the heel side in the Blackpool Combat Club in the Blood and Guts match next week. We're going to find out this Wednesday. So if it's Ibushi, we're going to find out. I don't know if he'll be on the show, but we're going to find out who the fifth man is on either side on Wednesday night. So come on back here for that. I spoke a lot of weed again. Name of move, I mean. Name of move. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It made me laugh. The people's elbow. Because it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It was over as shit, but it's so stupid. Anyway, dream of Gunther and Vader. And we'll do it all over again. We'll come back here on Wednesday night. Bring your questions. I'll see you guys Wednesday night. Take care, guys.